I was 12 when I learned the truth. Not from some heartfelt family talk. Not from a kind teacher gently explaining the meaning of adoption. But from a screaming match that erupted over dinner. "You're not even our real son." That was the first time my mother, no, the woman I thought was my mother, said it. The rice bowl I held slipped from my trembling hands and shattered on the floor. The pieces scattered across the tiles, just like the fragments of my reality. "You think we owe you everything?" she sneered. "We took you in out of pity, Leo. You were abandoned like a dog." Dad just sat there, silent, spineless, as usual. My adopted sister, Mia, smirked behind her glass of juice like it was just another episode of her favorite soap opera. She was their real child, the golden girl, the pride of the family. They kicked me out a week later. No warning, no luggage, just a black trash bag with some clothes and a worn-out pair of sneakers. I remember the cold sting of the night air, the way my fingers went numb trying to zip up my jacket, the sound of the door slamming shut behind me like a final judgment. "Don't come back," she spat. "You're not one of us." The streets were cold, not just in temperature but in soul. I spent my nights behind dumpsters, under bridges, in subway stations when I got lucky. My days? Begging, fighting, stealing food. I learned to survive, not live, just survive. But hate kept me warm. Hate for the family that threw me away like garbage. Hate for Mia's mocking eyes. Hate for the man who once promised, "You'll always have a place in this home," then watched silently as I was thrown out. That hate became fuel. At 14, I got caught trying to steal a phone. Instead of jail, I got a shot thanks to a gruff old man named Harvey who ran a martial arts gym. He didn't ask questions. Just gave me a mat, a bowl of rice, and a choice. Train or get out. I trained. I bled. I broke bones, my own and others. Harvey became something close to a father. Not because he was gentle, he wasn't, but because he believed in me. At 17, I started an underground fighting career. At 19, I'd earned enough to buy my own place. But I didn't stop. I wanted more. Power, wealth, control, and revenge. By 22, I wasn't just surviving, I was thriving. I used the money from the fight circuit to start a business. Illegal tech trading. Then legitimate software development. Then cybersecurity. Turns out, growing up on the street made me paranoid, suspicious, and obsessive. All the traits of a damn good CEO. My company, Obsidian Systems, exploded thanks to a breakthrough in blockchain security. By 25, I was on the cover of Forbes Asia. Net worth, 110 million. Publicly, I was known as Leo Vance, a self-made tech genius with a mysterious past. Privately, I was still the broken boy with a revenge plan 10 years in the making. And now, it was time. I started by buying the house next door to theirs quietly through an alias. It hadn't changed much. White fences, blue shutters, a porch swing. The same swing where I used to sit, watching fireflies and wondering if they really loved me. One evening, I walked by while Mia was outside watering plants. She didn't recognize me. The smug cheerleader face was now overdone with fillers and caked in fake happiness. Her marriage had failed. Her social media screamed desperation, and the shine in her eyes had dulled. She looked up. "Hi, new neighbor?" I smiled politely. "Just moved in." "I'm Mia," she said, offering a hand. "Leo," I replied. She froze. Her eyes flickered like a glitching screen. "Leo?" she whispered. "Leo Nguyen." I just nodded. The silence that followed was delicious. Tense. Awkward. Terrified. She dropped the watering can. The next week, I hosted a welcome to the neighborhood party. Lavish, high-end, expensive as hell. Champagne flowed. Caterers buzzed. I made sure to invite them, my family. Out of curiosity, they came. Mom, Amanda, was older but still sharp-tongued. Dad, Greg, looked like life had worn him down. And Mia, well, she wore her guilt like a second skin. I greeted them with the charm of a devil in disguise. "You're all welcome here," I said, handing Amanda a glass of wine. "Family always comes first." She choked on the wine. The house was a calculated masterpiece. Everything, from the chandelier to the scent of the air, was designed not for comfort, but for psychological warfare. Amanda walked in with that same look of superiority, as if her mere presence was a favor. Greg followed, eyes low, spine still spineless. Mia strutted in like a diva, though her heels wobbled slightly, nerves maybe. "Welcome," I said with a polished smile. "It's surreal to have family here again." Amanda's wine glass nearly cracked in her grip. They didn't recognize the trap. Not yet, but I wasn't here for closure. I was here to destroy. 1 week later, I invited them for an exclusive family dinner. No one else was there, just them. The dining room was pristine, the food 5-star. Wagyu steak, black truffle risotto, aged wine, and at the end of the table, a massive 85-inch TV screen. They sat. Amanda raised a brow. "What's the occasion?" I clicked the remote. The screen lit up. A grainy video played, recorded by an old street cam, shaky, raw. A young boy, me, being shoved out of a front door, crying, begging. Then, Amanda's voice, screeching, "You think we owe you? You're not even blood. You're lucky we didn't leave you on the street the first time." Another cut. Me curled up under a bridge, shivering in the rain. The date stamped at the bottom. March 5th, 2015, the day I died. Amanda's face turned ghost white. Mia gasped. Greg wept. "I recorded everything," I said coldly. "I knew one day I'd need the receipts." Amanda slammed her wine glass down. "What the hell do you want, Leo? Money? Pity?" I stared directly into her. "No, I came for justice. For vengeance." Then I turned to Greg. "You said I'd always have a home, but when she screamed at me, you did nothing. You were a coward then. You're a coward now." Now the real revenge began. Greg was the first domino. I bought out the small company where he worked as an accountant, secretly through an alias. Then I had him fired for breach of ethics, using fabricated but undeniably convincing financial documents. I also leaked anonymous tips about an old gambling addiction he had in his 40s. It spread like wildfire. His reputation shattered. His friends cut him off. Even Amanda started blaming him for bringing shame to the family. Amanda was next. I lured her into investing her retirement fund into a charitable foundation for orphans. She thought it was her redemption arc. She didn't know I owned it. 6 weeks later, it vanished. So did her money. She called me, shaking, desperate. "Leo, if you know anything, please, this was everything I had." I replied with the same words she once screamed at me. "You're lucky I don't leave you on the street again." She hung up sobbing. But the most satisfying part was Mia, the golden child, the one who got everything I was denied, the one who watched silently while I was thrown out like garbage. I found out she was dating a young, ambitious real estate investor, David. Good-looking, wealthy, sharp. So I stole him, not just physically but emotionally, mentally. I studied him. I became exactly what he wanted. Powerful, mysterious, dangerous. He fell in love with me within weeks. Then I planned the reveal. I invited Mia and David to a luxury gala, hosted by Obsidian Systems, my company. They showed up arm in arm, until they saw me walk in holding David's hand. Mia's mouth dropped. What the hell is this?" David blinked. "Wait, you two know each other?" I leaned into the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce my boyfriend and my dear sister's ex." Gasps, whispers, cameras flashing. Mia exploded. She slapped David, screamed at me, and ran out in tears. I didn't chase. I toasted. "To family," I said. The crowd laughed. The house they once owned. The same house where I was thrown out? I now owned it. I sent them an anonymous letter. One line, "Come home. There's something waiting." They arrived together, nervous and tired. Inside was a single dining chair, a manila envelope on it. Inside, a photo of me at 12. Face swollen, bruised, lips bleeding. Below the photo, "Is this what a child who isn't blood deserves?" Also inside was a deed. I had signed over everything. my wealth, properties, shares, into the name of someone else. My birth mother. The woman Amanda threatened and paid off years ago to give up her son. She had spent years searching for me. When I found her at 23, she cried. Not out of guilt, but relief. I didn't leave you, she whispered. They took you. And now I had taken everything back for her. I stood at the window of my penthouse, staring at the city. Below, the people who once called me not family had lost everything. But I didn't kill them. No violence. No crime. Just truth. Exposed at the perfect moment. Amanda was now bankrupt and hated. Greg, disgraced and alone. Mia, she was being dragged on social media after her psycho meltdown went viral. And me, I was free. Not from pain. That would never leave. But from the chains of needing to belong. Now they were the ones begging for mercy. And I just smiled. Blood doesn't bind us. Pain does. And you all gave me plenty to work with. I sat alone in my office, staring at a small, worn-out box. Inside were dozens of old letters, yellowed by time. Letters I had written to Amanda after she threw me out. I miss you, Mom. I'm hungry. I don't understand why you hate me. I just want to be loved. None of them were ever sent. I kept them, like souvenirs of a broken soul. And today I burned them one by one. The flames crackled, hungry and furious, devouring the pain. When the last letter turned to ash, I picked up my phone. Start the final phase. Last week, I hired a private investigator to dig deeper into my real mother's past. Her name was Mai, a quiet woman who once worked as a housemaid in Amanda's home. She got pregnant when she was just 18, with a married man. That man was Greg, Amanda's husband. I was the result of an affair. When Amanda found out, she didn't just fire Mai. She threatened her, forced her to hand over the baby, or else. Then she went a step further. She framed Mai for theft. She went to prison for 2 years. So no, I wasn't adopted out of kindness. I was kept in that house as a weapon. Amanda raised me not to love me, but to punish the woman who slept with her husband. I was a hostage of her vengeance. I produced a short documentary, just 12 minutes long, chronicling my story. From being abandoned, to living on the streets, to uncovering the shocking truth of my birth. I didn't mention Amanda or Greg's names directly, but every detail was specific enough for the internet to piece everything together. Within 24 hours, #TheUnwantedSon was trending globally. People pulled up old charity event photos of Amanda, clips of Greg at school board meetings, articles quoting Mia about family values. The internet turned them into monsters, and I didn't stop it. I watched. Amanda asked to meet. She looked nothing like the woman I once feared. She was gaunt, disheveled, haunted. We met at the same upscale cafe where she once refused to let me sit because I didn't look decent enough. This time, I wore a tailored suit. She sat down slowly. Her hand trembled as she placed something on the table. A small pistol. My heart didn't even race. I need to ask, she whispered, eyes red. Is Greg? Is he your father? I didn't answer. Her voice cracked. So, I ruined a child's life, just to protect a liar. Silence. She picked up the gun. Her hand shook. She pressed it to her own temple. I didn't blink. I died when I was 12, I said. You're just trying to catch up. Her hand fell. She couldn't do it. She left the gun on the table and walked out in silence. 2 days later, Amanda turned herself in to the police. She confessed to coercing Mai into giving up her child, falsely accusing her of theft, emotional abuse, and prolonged psychological torture. The media lost its mind. She was painted as the villain in a real-life horror story. The community turned its back on her. Greg was pulled into a fraud investigation related to one of his companies. He lost his job and soon after, his reputation. Mia? She completely vanished from the public eye. Their once model family was now nothing but ash and whispers. I returned to the countryside, to a small wooden house where my now lived peacefully. When she saw me, she didn't say anything, just held me in silence. You've been through so much, she whispered. I had to, I replied. For justice. She looked up, pain in her eyes. Did getting revenge make you happy? I didn't answer. Couldn't. Because deep down, I didn't know. A letter to my 12-year-old self. Dear Leo, I'm sorry for letting you starve. I'm sorry you ever thought you weren't worthy of love. I took everything they tried to destroy you with and turned it into fire. I burned down their lies. I made the world see you, not because I wanted them to hurt, but because you deserved the truth. Rest now. The devil got his vengeance. You from the future.